Welcome back to part 2 of this A1 AM-3016 debacle here. So I did a bit of research last night and discovered that the NTE 180 that I had installed in this in part 1, while it does function and let the chassis operate, you would think that it'd be okay if that was the case, but it's actually not. The NTE 180 is not compatible with a direct swap on a 3055. The original voltage regulator was this 2N3055. The NTE 130 is a direct replacement for this. And in my research, I must have misread that or overlooked it because I thought it was 180, but it's actually 130. So this is the one that I installed. I took it back out because it's not compatible with this one. I made a mistake on that. The 2N3055 is compatible with NTE 130. So yeah, I have some of these on order, but in the meantime, while doing research on this, it turns out that the Atari audio regulator boards have the 2N3055 installed on those. So I took one out of it. I have 2 of these sitting around that someone gave to me for free. You can see all the dust laying. I've had them up in the garage shelf forever. I'm like, Eureka, I've got one. So I installed it, and you can see 2N3055. So now we have the correct voltage regulator in there, and I'll show you here. And one of the things that leaps off the table here as to how that this, even though it may work, is not the right one, is if we look here on how we read this. If we read the 3055, we go to diode checker and we go to negative on the frame, and then we touch each one of the 2 legs here, and we get, there's our 0.182 from our B plus resistor. If I touch the other leg, I get my 0.5 voltage drop. So we should read this the same way, negative on the frame, and if I touch one leg, nothing, other leg, nothing. I have to reverse the polarity of my lead. See that? I put the positive on the frame. So this is, even though this worked in here, it's not the same type of package as the 3055, so I'm surprised it even worked at all. And that was my error, my mistake, so I'm glad I figured that out and found that. And I have not turned this on. I'm almost positive now that that was the cause of our wavy image. So I have a bunch, I think I have like 4 of these on order or so, the 3055s. But in the meantime, I was able to find one to replace. Now, also, this transistor that died or was shorted, the Q02 that I mentioned before, it's the original one I took out of this chassis was a C2310. This is the original one that's shorted. And the one that I found and replaced with was a C23, if we can make the C2316. I'm dirty from working on the chassis, sorry. The 2316. So, well, again, this is not the exact same replacement. I did confirm this is the same package as far as NP and PNP and emitter collector base. So this, for all intents and purposes, will work, but I was not happy with that. I didn't know if that not being the same 2310 as the one I took out was the cause of our wavy image. So before I had discovered this 3055 issue, I went and grabbed a whole bunch of spare chassis that I have and looked them over and ended up finding on a D9200. I have a D9200 that had a bad flyback, so it became a parts chassis before I got some other ones to use for swapping parts. So I got a D9200 that's all picked clean, and I was able on the neck board to find the correct 2310. So I have a correct C2310 in here to replace the original. I have a correct 3055 voltage regulator to replace the original, so that's all correct. Now the only part on this chassis that's not original is this, or within the original spec I should say, is this 7 watt 2.7 ohm resistor, which I mentioned before should be 10 watts 2 ohms. But for testing purposes, I don't think this will be a problem, and I definitely don't think it's the cause of our wavy image. So after changing out this to the correct one and this to the correct one, I want to hook this back up and test and see if our wavy image is now fixed. If it is, all I have to do is wait for the correct resistor here to come in, and then this will be 100% repaired. I did some research and I could not find a correct replacement flyback, and I don't even know if this was the cause. I'm assuming it was the cause of why this died because of the damage we had on it, the visual inspection, but I don't know for sure. So this may actually be okay. And this could have got blown up from some other reason, I don't know. Maybe something failed over time and just caused a cascade. I can't say with 100% certainty that this was the original cause of the problem. So that being said, I wanted to show this, what I've done so far, and what I found. So after changing these out to the correct parts, the only thing that remains to change out to the correct part is this. But I don't think this is the cause of our problem. If we still, I'll test it here shortly. If we still have our wavy image, I'll have to wait until the correct resistor comes in, or I may even just see if I can try and put some other resistors in parallel with this to bring it from 2.7 down to 2 and see if that does anything. But in the situation we're in now, let's go ahead and turn it on and see if our wavy image is now fixed. All right, so we're all hooked back up, and I went ahead and made an actual connection here instead of shoving the wires into the pins, because that's somewhat dangerous and a bit hacky, but I got that. So they got that all connected properly here, and everything else is hooked up: anode, neck, yoke, power, ground, video, remote board. So I haven't not turned this on yet. I wanted to share the knowledge with you guys. I try to do that as much as possible. But if things go wrong and I have to keep trying and do troubleshooting, I just kind of add it to the end. But for this purpose, we're going to test it live here, and you can share in the knowledge with me. So I'm 99.9% confident that that was the cause of our problem, because we showed how it reads differently, the NTE 180 versus the 3055. And yeah, and I also want to see if our color bias problem, or I turned the color bias up and the image got real white and bright. I want to see if that is resolved now as well. So let us see what we get here. 1, 2, 3. Okay, it came right on. That's good. What do we get? Is it fixed? Focus! Come on! Well, how about that? It's way brighter! Way oversaturated, way brighter. I need to do a bunch of adjustments now, but look! No more wave! That's awesome, and look how much different it is. I haven't changed any settings at all from the last part to this part. All I did, it's actually less wide now too. Now it's even less wide. The width has shrunk slightly too, so that's even more awesome. Added bonus there. But I have not adjusted anything between the last time I powered this up and now. After changing those parts out, now it's even brighter than it was, and it's a bit less wide. So let me get the camera on the tripod here so it's not shaky cam back and forth. And we'll see if I can adjust this and make it look good here, so hang on a moment. Okay, so let's go ahead and just give it some credits so it stays on this screen. And then we will try and make some adjustments here. We will start with all of our colors to center. Blue was all the way down. And sorry, I'm in front of the camera here, so we're all centered on the neck board and the main board. Now let's do brightness all the way down, contrast all the way down, and then we'll turn up our flyback until we get our raster lines. Oh, right about there. And can we do focus here? Oh man, that is looking good there. Wow. Okay. Now we can do brightness again to roughly, there's our maximum setting. Without, you want to have a completely black background, so you turn the flyback up until you slightly see the background become white, and then back down until it goes back to black again. And that's so our flyback and our brightness plot are adjusted exactly where they should be and should not be touched again. Now you want to make adjustments using contrast and color pots. That's contrast, believe it or not, or color bias. So right there is where our color bias needs to stay. It's looking pretty good. I need to readjust focus now after adjusting the other pots. And that's about as good as that's going to get. It's an old tired tube. So let's see if we can... what does the actual game look like? Let's hit our start button if I can. There we go. Well, we're too blue. Can I adjust vertical size here? Which one of these bastards is vertical size? This weird looking one is vertical size. Hey, look at that. Awesome. Can I do horizontal position? Which one of those is that? That is this one. Yeah, there you go. So there, you got a full screen. It looks terrible here with this light. Sorry about the light. Let me toss this up here to block that. Is that better? There you go. That's better. Sorry about that. Okay, that's looking pretty good. It's a bit too red. The camera doesn't really pick it up very well because of the light in the background and everything. Let's see if I can turn this light on. Does that make it any better? Oh no, that makes it worse. So, yeah, that's not bad. Let's adjust some colors here. Green. There's green. Red slightly. Nope. We can turn red. We can afford to turn red up a bit. Blue is already too blue, so we'll turn that down a bit. There we go. Let's try on the neck board here. So that's not looking too bad. We're still a bit too blue, but like I say before, this tube is not good. And the red and the green gun are about 50% of what the blue gun is. So it's hard to really get a good image on this with what's going on with the tube. But that's not very bad right there. That's actually not bad. If it would focus, piece of junk, there you go. Yeah, it's still way too blue, but this is a tube problem, not a chassis problem. Let's see what we can get with our test pattern generator, just to see if that is any different or better. So we will disconnect our video and plug in this video. It's interesting how with no video signal it kind of folds over on itself down here, but I don't know if that's because there's no 50-60 hertz pot like there is on the 7000, so I don't know how to fix that. I wonder if I adjust vertical size if that will go away. It does. So you can see how it folds over on itself down here with no signal. So I think that the 7000 may not be an exact copy or exact match or exact replacement for this chassis. But it works enough for testing, so we're just going to go ahead and keep using it. Okay, test pattern generator on. That is amazing. Look at that, that's much better. Red is too bright. Well, let's see if we can adjust color bias to fix that. The problem with using a test pattern generator is that the video signal is so much more, the drive is much higher. So when you adjust your brightness and contrast and whatnot using a test pattern generator, and then you hook a real board back up, it's much dimmer and darker. So that's another reason why I don't like using the test pattern generator to adjust things, but this person's going to have to readjust their colors when they get this back on their tube and their machine anyway, so I guess we'll go ahead and just use the test pattern generator here. Let's do vertical position, which is the second one here. And that's pretty good. We'll go back to vertical size. Right about there. And you see it's not folding over on itself down here with an actual signal. So I'm not really too worried about it because right now it's looking pretty good. So let's go through to our color bars. Color bars look great. Look at that. Now in person you may think that it looks even, but I'm sorry, in camera it may look a bit even, but in person the blue is much more pronounced than green and red. But look at that, perfect. Nor wave, straight lines. So I put that wrong. Put this regulator in there. Yeah, I don't want to turn red down. I mean I could, but then it looks like garbage. So I can turn red down, it doesn't bleed anymore, but that's completely all the way down. I don't want to do that. So I'll put it back about 25% here. Well, convergence, and the bottom is kind of off, but we got a nice full picture. Linearity is a bit off. You can see how on the top it's much taller. The squares are much taller than the bottom, but yeah, that's just the way it is. There's no linearity adjustment. So I think we're looking good. I have to replace, I'm waiting for the correct neck resistors. The correct 5.6K, and I'm going to bump it up from 1 watt to 5 watt. The 5.6K 5 watt neck resistors, I'm waiting for those to arrive. And I'm waiting for the correct 2 ohm 10 watt resistor for the power circuit to come in. And I'll replace those parts when they come in and do some more testing. But for now, I'm going to call this a complete successful repair. So, lesson learned, don't overlook. When you're looking up the parts being compatible, don't make an assumption and don't overlook and verify, because I misread 130 for 180. The NTE 180 is not compatible with the 3055. And I misread it as being so. It's actually the 130. So don't use a 180, use a 130, NTE 130. And yeah, I don't know if I ordered those. I think I ordered 4 of the 3055. I didn't order any of the NTEs. I ordered some 3055s. But lesson learned. We have another successful repair, easy for me to say. And this was quite the adventure. I think we had, I'm still running the K7000 HOT. So we have discovered that you can use an NTE 130 in place of a 3055. For voltage regulator, we have discovered that you can use a 1398 K7000 HOT in place of the HOT that came in here. I think it was a, let's take a look here. Let's see. This was a Bravo Uniform 508 Alpha Foxtrot. So you can use a K7000 in place of that. Also, that HOT, the BU one, is the exact one that's in the Henrex Polo. So that makes sense as to why the K7000 one can work in here as well. So we learned that. What else? I think that's about it. We found a bad cap. We found that bad resistor, the bad neckboard resistors, the overrated fuses, the bad Q2, the bad Q02, I should say. Lots of adventures, lots of fun on this. I learned something, hopefully you did. So I am not even going to really do a full burn-in on this. I'm going to wait for my correct neck resistors to come in and the correct 10 watt 2 ohm power resistor to come in. And then I'll do my full burn test and proper testing. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and say that this is a successful repair. Lesson learned on the voltage regulator. That was the cause of the waviness. So thanks again for watching. Stay tuned, lots more content on the way, and we'll see you then.